August, 479 BCE. The sun does not just heat the Cithaeron ridge, it bakes it. It turns the dirt into a fine, choking powder that coats the throats of 70,000 men. They are trapped. The largest Greek coalition ever assembled on land is pinned against the high ground near Plataea. Below them stretches the flat, open expanse of Boeotia, and waiting on that plain is Mardonius. He commands the largest Persian army left in the world, 120,000 men, a sea of archers, infantry, and restless cavalry. But Mardonius does not need to march up the ridge. He only needs to wait. The terrain itself is doing his work. The Greek position is a geographical prison. If the heavy infantry steps down onto the open plain, the Persian cavalry will tear their flanks to pieces. A man on foot cannot catch a horse. He can only stand. He can only hold his shield. He can only be bled. But if the Greeks stay on the ridge, they die slowly. There is no cover. There is no shade. There is only the sun, the dust, and the waiting. Every hour they spend locked in this standoff, the Greek alliance fractures a little more. They are fighting from a bleeding position. This is the anvil. The plain below is the hammer. And if the Greeks break here, the Persian Empire will swallow the Western world. There will be no united resistance left. Greece ends on this ridge. The logistics of ancient warfare are a terrifying mathematical equation. 70,000 men require water. They require grain. They require pack animals. And those animals require forage. You cannot hide an army of this size. You cannot easily supply it. And you certainly cannot keep it standing still without the whole massive organism beginning to rot from the inside out. This is not a single, unified army. It is a fragile, paranoid coalition of Spartans, Athenians, Tegeans, and Corinthians. Men who speak different dialects. Men who, under normal skies, would gladly kill each other. Now, they are pressed shoulder to shoulder in the suffocating heat, waiting for an order that never comes. Pausanias commands the Spartans. Aristides leads the Athenians. Both men stare down at the flat ground. They know the truth of hoplite warfare. The bronze armor is heavy. The wooden shields are cumbersome. They are built for the crushing, face-to-face brutality of the Phalanx. They are not built for chasing shadows across an open field. Mardonius knows this too. From his silk tents in the valley, the Persian commander watches the ridge. He does not order a massed infantry assault. He does not risk his immortals against a wall of Spartan bronze on high ground. He is too smart for that. He chooses strangulation over confrontation. Mardonius commands the plain. He commands the roads. He commands the supply lines. He has the ultimate advantage in ancient combat. He has speed. The Greek world is bleeding out, not from sword strikes, but from starvation and immobility. Days drag into over a week, 11 days of waiting, 11 days of the sun beating down on bronze helmets. Inside the Greek camp, the tension is becoming physical. Men are arguing over rations. Commanders are bickering over strategy. The coalition is fraying. Pausanias watches the passes of Cithaeron behind them. The lifeline, the only way food and water can reach his trapped army. But the lifeline is completely exposed. Mardonius sees the vulnerability. He sees the math. He does not need to defeat the Greeks in battle. He only needs to make the ridge a graveyard. The order is given. The phantom enemy is unleashed. The true horror of Plataea is about to begin. The heat shimmering off the bronze breastplates is visible from a mile away. The sweat stings the eyes of the hoplites. They grip their spears until their knuckles turn white, watching the dust clouds gather below. The Persian cavalry is finally moving. It starts as a low rumble, a vibration in the dirt. Then the horizon blurs, not charging lines of heavy infantry, but waves of Persian horsemen. They do not crash into the Greek lines. They circle. They swarm. They are a nightmare of mobility. A hoplite steps forward, raising his shield. A javelin thumps into the wood. Before the Greek can even brace his feet, the rider is gone. Another takes his place. Arrows fall like iron rain. They crack against bronze. They splinter ash wood. They find the soft flesh of thighs and throats. The Greeks can do nothing. They push out. The horsemen evaporate. They fall back. The horsemen close in. It is a psychological torture. Men are dying without ever swinging a sword. For a brief, chaotic moment, the Greeks find a spark of hope. A Persian commander, Mardonius, rides too close to the line. The mass of men surges forward. His horse rears, throwing him into the dust. The Greeks swarm him like starving dogs. It takes a dozen men to hold him down. They drive a spear into his skull. They cheer. They scream their defiance at the plain. But the cheering stops almost as quickly as it began, because the death of one man changes nothing. The arrows keep falling. The horses keep circling. And then, the terror shifts focus. The Persian cavalry stops hunting only men. They start hunting the Lifeline. Wagons moving through the Scythaeron passes are ambushed. Mules are slaughtered in their traces. Supply carts are flipped and burned. The smoke rises into the relentless blue sky, visible to every starving Greek on the ridge. The food stops coming. But food is not the immediate crisis. The true crisis is water. 70,000 throats are parched. The army relies entirely on a single source, the Gargaphia spring. It is the beating heart of the Greek coalition. Without it, the men will wither and die in their armor. Mardonius knows this. The Persian horsemen sweep around the flanks and descend on the water. They do not just guard it, they ruin it. Hooves trample the soft earth into a thick, foul slurry. They choke the basin with mud and refuse. Greek soldiers arrive with clay jars, only to find Persian archers waiting, and the water turned to brown sludge. The smell of fouled water and dying pack animals drifts up the ridge. The men drop their empty jars. The lifeline is severed. The heartbeat stops. The reality sets in. Thirst is not like hunger. Thirst induces panic. It thickens the blood. It clouds the mind. It makes heavy bronze armor feel like a heated coffin. Men collapse in the lines, panting in the dry air. The Greek commanders realize the trap has fully closed. The position is dead. The army is dying. To stay on the ridge is to perish by the sun and the arrow. Pausanias and Aristides look at the map, then at the suffering ranks. They have only one choice left. They must abandon the ridge. They must move at night. They must retreat toward Plataea, closer to fresh water, closer to safety. It is a desperate gamble. Moving an army of this size in the dark is an invitation to disaster. But the thirst leaves them no alternative. Tongues swell. Lips crack and bleed. The silence on the ridge is broken only by the dry coughing of men choking on the Boeotian dust. The order is whispered through the ranks. Pack the gear, quiet the fires. We march at midnight. The sun finally sets. The suffocating heat gives way to a tense, paranoid darkness. 70,000 men begin to dismantle their camp in total silence. Armor clinks. Footsteps shuffle in the dirt. Torches are forbidden. They are trying to slip away from the greatest cavalry force on earth. The plan is simple on parchment. The center moves first. The wings follow. They regroup near Plataea, find water, and form a new line before the sun reveals their position. But parchment does not bleed. Parchment does not account for fear. The movement begins. Thousands of men descend from the ridge into the blackness. Almost immediately, the fog of war descends. Without landmarks, without torchlight, the columns begin to drift. The Greek center marches. They march past the regroup point. They march past the fallback lines. They keep walking into the void, terrified of the Persian horsemen they imagine waiting in every shadow. They scatter. The center of the Greek army completely detaches from the wings. It evaporates into the night. On the left flank, the Athenians wait for the signal to move. The signal never comes, or it comes twice, contradicting itself. Commanders argue in hushed, panicked voices. Entire units stand frozen in the dark, gripping their spears, not knowing whether to march or hold. The alliance is physically breaking apart. But the true disaster happens on the Spartan right. The withdrawal freezes completely. A Spartan commander named Amompharetus refuses to move his unit. Spartan law is absolute. Spartans do not retreat. To him, This tactical repositioning is cowardice. Pausanias rides up to him in the dark. The frustration is absolute. The survival of the entire Greek world is balanced on the stubbornness of one rigid man. Pausanias pleads. He orders. Amompharetus picks up a massive rock and throws it at Pausanias' feet, shouting that this is his vote to stay and fight. Time is bleeding away. Every second they stand arguing in the dark. The Persian dawn gets closer. The absurdity of it is terrifying. The greatest military machine in Greece is paralyzed by its own inflexible pride. Pausanias looks at the eastern horizon. The black sky is turning gray. He cannot wait anymore. He orders the rest of the Spartans to abandon Amompharetus and march. The heavy infantry begins to move across the plain, completely separated from the Athenians. The coalition is shattered. The plan is dead. The night march has been a catastrophic failure. Dawn breaks over Boeotia. The sun illuminates a nightmare. There is no unified Greek wall. There is only a fractured, broken line. The Spartans are isolated on the right. The Athenians are isolated on the left. The center is gone. They are stranded in the open, exactly where Mardonius wants them. From the Persian camp, the scouts ride in frantically. The ridge is empty. Mardonius steps out of his tent and looks across the plain. He sees the dust of the fleeing columns. He sees the disconnected units. He does not see a tactical redeployment. He sees a routed enemy. He sees panic. The Greeks are running. The seers in the Persian camp have warned him against attacking. The omens are bad. But Mardonius looks at the broken Greek army and makes the only logical choice a commander can make. Hubris overrides caution. He orders the entire Persian army to advance, not to harass, to crush. The hunt is on. The ground shakes as tens of thousands of Persian troops pour out of their fortified camp. The deafening roar of war drums shatters the morning silence. The fog of war has tricked Mardonius into throwing away his greatest advantage. He believes he is chasing cowards. He does not realize he has just forced desperate men into a corner. The trap has snapped shut. But neither side truly knows who is caught inside it. The plain of Plataea explodes into two separate, massive battles. The dust kicks up, blinding the armies to each other. Aristides and the Athenians realize the Spartans are under attack. They turn to cross the plain and reinforce them. But out of the dust, a wall of shields blocks their path. Thebans, Greek fighting Greek. The Persian allied Boeotians crash into the Athenians, locking them in a brutal localized meat grinder. The Athenians cannot help. The Spartans are completely alone. On the right flank, Pausanias watches the Persian tide roll toward him. Cavalry sweeps in, then the infantry. The Persians plant their large wicker shields into the dirt, a wall of woven wood. Behind it, thousands of archers draw their bows. The sky darkens, the arrow storm begins. It is a relentless, shrieking downpour of iron and wood. The Spartans and the Tegeans raise their heavy bronze shields. The sound is deafening, a continuous, terrifying drumbeat of arrows smashing into bronze. Wood splinters. Men grunt as arrows find the gaps in their armor. The heat is unbearable. The thirst is still tearing at their throats, and they cannot move. Pausanias refuses to order the charge. The Spartan seers are cutting the throats of goats, looking at the entrails. The omens are bad. The gods say wait, so the Spartans wait. They stand in the dirt, absorbing the full weight of the Persian Empire. It is a test of sheer, inhuman endurance. Arrows pin feet to the ground. Shields grow heavy with the weight of embedded shafts. The Persian line edges closer. More arrows. More blood soaking into the dry dirt. This is the agonizing reality of ancient command. Pausanias watches his men dying where they stand, held back only by religion and discipline. The pressure is suffocating. The Tegeans cannot take it anymore. Human endurance has a limit. Without waiting for the order, the Tegean infantry breaks rank. They lower their spears and begin to surge forward into the arrow fire. The breaking point has been reached. Pausanias looks at the seers one last time. A final goat is slaughtered. The blood spills into the dust. The omens suddenly clear. The gods give their permission. Pausanias screams the order. The Spartan line moves. They do not sprint. They do not break formation. They advance as a single, terrifying, mechanical wall of bronze. The arrows keep falling, but the distance is closing. The Persian archers keep firing until the Spartan eyes are visible through the slits of their helmets. The wicker shields are useless now. The Persian archers desperately reach for their short spears, realizing too late the horror of what is coming. The Spartans do not feel the thirst anymore. They do not feel the exhaustion of the night march. They feel only the weight of their ash-wood spears and the crushing forward momentum of their brothers beside them. The air is sucked out of the battlefield. The deafening roar of the arrows is replaced by a single, collective roar from thousands of Spartan throats. The open space is gone. The rock has met the paper. The trap is sprung. The impact is catastrophic. Bronze smashes into wicker. The sound of thousands of wooden shields splintering echoes across the plain. The othismos begins. The push, the crushing, suffocating pressure of hoplite warfare. Men are not just stabbed, they are trampled. They are crushed to death by the sheer mass of the pushing bodies. The Persian front ranks are obliterated. They fight bravely. They grab at the Spartan spears. They break the shafts with their bare hands. But they cannot stop the weight of the bronze wall. The Persian center bends, then it folds. In the swirling chaos of dust and blood, a white horse rears up. Mardonius. He is fighting in the thick of the slaughter, trying to hold his army together. A Spartan stone or spear finds him. Mardonius falls. The commander is dead. The psychological shockwave ripples through the Persian lines faster than the Spartans can march. The Persian army breaks. It becomes a blind, terrified mob running for the safety of their fortified wooden camp. The Greeks pursue them relentlessly. The Athenians finally break the Thebans on the left and join the slaughter. The surviving Persians pour into the camp, barring the wooden gates. But the wooden walls cannot save them. The Tegeans find a weak point. Axes bite into timber. The barricade splinters and groans. The Greeks pour through the breach. Inside the camp, there is no room to maneuver. There is no room to retreat. It is a claustrophobic nightmare. Tents are trampled. Wagons become death traps. Men are pressed so tightly together they cannot swing their swords. The slaughter inside the enclosure is absolute. What began as a desperate struggle for water ends in a total massacre. The Persian soldiers try to climb over the walls, but the spears drag them down. The ground turns to thick mud, but this time it is not from trampled spring water. It is blood. The mechanical perfection of the Greek phalanx grinds the last remnants of the invasion into the dirt. The shrieks of the dying slowly fade into a heavy, exhausted silence. The dust settles over Boeotia. 70,000 Greeks stand panting, soaked in sweat and gore. They have survived their own catastrophic blunders through sheer, unyielding brute force. Mardonius is dead. The camp is a graveyard. The greatest Persian army ever to walk on European soil ceases to exist. Persia remains a massive, powerful empire, but the empire will never march on mainland Greece again. The geographical boundary between East and West is drawn in the blood spilled at Plataea. Athens will rise. Sparta will reign. The Greek world survives to lay the foundation of Western history. The invasion dies here. The Persian Wars are over. But right now, on this quiet, body-strewn plain, there is no thought of history. There is only the sweet taste of fresh water, the weight of a shattered shield, and the profound, terrifying silence of total victory.